guys, let's go ahead and get started. Shan, if you want to. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. For those of you, there's a few new names on here who I don't know. So we'll do a couple quick introductions. I'm Dana Hinton, the Executive Director of Kick Cancer, and we are just so grateful you're here tonight. Em and I were just texting about how we're already like getting teary-eyed because this is going to be a fantastic conversation tonight. But also, like I know it's already heavy on my heart, and I'm so excited to have Susan here tonight. I'm going to let Shannon do a better job introducing her, but Susan is here tonight to talk to us about grief, which we were just discussing right before everybody jumped on. And all of us have grief in our life and have experienced it. And if you haven't, then you certainly will. We were never promised this was going to be an easy life, just a life that was well worth it. And so I'm excited, Susan, for you to be here and to give us some of the tools and just your insights on working through grief and walking through it. So, Shan, I'll let you take it first, but also real quick, and why don't you introduce yourself? Because I'm sure there's actually quite a few names on here that you might not know.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm M Doyle, new team member of the Kick Cancer movement, and just really appreciate these conversations every month because I think I take little bits and pieces away from it that can help so many people. So thanks again, Susan, for being here, and look forward to the conversation.
Thank you.
Great,
And if
Jan.
anyone ever needs to feel a little light in their life, just listen to Em talk and have her call you mate, and it will change your entire day.
Anytime, anytime.
So I actually had the pleasure of meeting Susan Latta down at the Austin Hatcher Foundation in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's an incredible childhood cancer nonprofit that has so many avenues of support for families out in East Tennessee. So it's really nice now that Kick Cancer has feet in the West. And we got this amazing one out here in the East that there is nothing that's going to hold us back. Like we want to be here to wrap everyone. And just because it's another foundation and we're this foundation, like we would just want to break the walls down. Like we're all here for the same mission. We all want to support and hold your hand and walk through this really difficult time. And so Susan Latta is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a fellow in thanatology. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thanatology, which is a study of death and dying. Susan received her BS from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo University and her MA from Fuller Theological Seminary. Susan brings 35 plus years of counseling individuals, children, and families through the many challenges that occur when a child is diagnosed with cancer. So her expertise is just perfect for this. I knew it was going to be an incredibly difficult subject to tackle, and I was like, Susan is the best. So Susan loves to be in nature, travel, and cuddle with her two miniature dash hounds, Gertie and Maggie, and find time to return to California to see her family and to walk on the beaches of the Pacific Ocean. So she also travels back to now our new home in Solano Beach. So we have connections all over, and we hope to see you at our new office maybe someday, Susan. Just stop on by.
That'd be great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on, and it is a pleasure to be with each of you, some that I can see, some that are listening. It's so I'm hoping that this can be a very fluid conversation tonight. I have a lot of information, but I would love just to dialogue with questions and concerns or wonderments that you may have, because we're going to delve into just this whole topic of grief. And for a lot of people, grief is such a topic that is I often refer to it as kind of like grief cooties. People don't know how to talk about grief. They're afraid, especially like if you have had your child die or a significant person in your family die. It's like, oh, I don't want to mention anything to you. I don't want to say anything to you because you might cry. Well, you're probably going to cry anyways. But grief is not just about death. Grief, many of you who have been dealing with your child or a family member that has been dealing with cancer have had all sorts of different kinds of grief. There's a grief that's called ambiguous loss or ambiguous grief. And what that is, it's like a grief that is not a death, but it has a lot of the same symptomologies that grief from a death has. Probably one of the most major, most common ones is poor concentration, difficulty sleeping, feeling a range of emotions that you can't control, having a hard time just dealing with life and feeling like everything is just like crashing in on you. And for some of you, and I don't know stories of anybody, but for some of you, having having a child that has dealt with cancer, is dealing with cancer, is in survivorship, but has the long-term effects of cancer, there is significant grief. So ambiguous grief is very real and very much a piece of life in the childhood cancer world that I don't think gets enough coverage or enough validation. People, especially with families where you have a child that's in survivorship or remission or is finishing treatments, like, oh, they're done. Well, they're never done. I mean, the long-term effects of chemo, radiation, and all of the treatment that your child or children goes through has, I mean, you guys know this so much better than I, has such an impact on who they are now, whether they were 2, 3, and now they're 17, whether they were 15 and now they're 21. Massive implications because of what they endured in their little bodies or their middle bodies or their big bodies as they're navigating through all the different cancer treatments and surgeries and whatnot. So I would love to pose a question to anyone that would be willing to answer it. What has been the biggest challenge for those of you that have a child alive that has had pediatric cancer? What have been some of the biggest challenges that you have faced with your child?
It
Fear.
says fear.
Okay.
And I think, hi, Kara. I know she's tuning in from
Maui.
Hawaii.
Wow.
Fear of all sickness, test scans.
Yeah.
Oh, Maui. Yes. So she's actually on vacation, but she's like, I want to tune in for this. So thank you, Kara, for tuning in. So, and you guys feel free to unmute and talk. Love you too, Kara. I definitely think that there's just the long-term side effects, the possibilities are endless, and new ones pop up the farther we go out. And I think that that's, you know, at some point, I don't know. I think you were right on point when you said that most people say, congratulations, she's done, that's great. When you know all the things and the trauma and what she's been through, the possibilities of infertility, the possibilities of all that relapse, right? They call it scanxiety for sure. Sarah from Minnesota, she's in remission from, our son is in remission from rhabdo. Fear for sure of the unknown, dealing with anxiety.
Right. And I think the whole thing with the fear of the unknown, the ongoing scans, wondering, okay, that we've had great scans for X amount of time. Is this going to be the time that we're going to be told that the cancer's back? or the blood tests are going to show that, the cancer is back. And so it's this ongoing reality that not only do you as parents continue to live with, but also as kids, as they continue to develop their own anxiety and how that is played out in your relationship with your child, in your family. And I don't think a lot of people that are not in this cancer world can understand how much fear and anxiety you guys carry with your kids ongoing, because this journey was not just the cancer. This journey continues till they take their last breath, if they're 90 or 75 or whatever age, as well as for each of you as moms and dads and adults in whoever's life it is that you're on this Zoom with, until you take your last breath. It is never going to go away. It is always going to be a part of your reality. And that is really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know tonight we're wanting to hold space for all of it, which is such a really hard thing to do. And we were talking about this before, like, how do we love on all of our families that are in grief of what was, and because their children are still here, but things have changed, the trauma and everything else, but grief of actual loss, because that weight it's a whole nother space. It's a whole nother, but I think, and this is where my heart is saying, like, there is no other mothers or fathers on this planet that I think can hold this space enough for these moms, and just the support, the love, the connection, and say, we're here for you as well. And so I know I just wanted to differentiate between those two right now, just in case we happen to have anyone on here tonight who has actually lost their child. We do want to get to that as well. So thank you guys all for being here.
So one of the things, and I'm going to focus for the right now for children that are still alive, and we will segue into when you've had a child die. But one of the things in this ambiguous loss or ambiguous grief for each of you that are on board is who your child was prior to the diagnosis. How is your child now after the diagnosis? And how are you as a mom, a dad, an adult, been impacted and affected by your child's diagnosis? And a lot of people do not recognize that. And for that, I'm very sorry for especially those parents on board that just do not realize how much each of you, as you dealt with your child's diagnosis, how you had to continually change as their treatment and surgeries and everything was happening, and you are different than you were prior to your child has pediatric cancer the first time you heard that. And my guess is that each of you on this Zoom call could go back immediately to that moment that you were told that your child had pediatric cancer. And you can smell, you can hear, you can see, you can feel that intensity that was on. Oh, someone said a sucker punch. Absolutely. I mean, it's like you've been punched in the gut. And that is one of the beauties of having an organization like this, or with the Austin Hatcher Foundation, where you can bring people together. I was talking with a mom the other day, and I used the word club, and she said, I really do not like that word club. I do not want to be in a club with bereaved moms or a club with moms that have kids that have cancer. I do not want like that term. So I was like, okay, I'll backstep from that. So, but you're in a environment of people where you can be honest and say, this sucks. This is, why did this happen to my child? Why did it happen to my family? Because not only did it impact each of you guys as adults, but all of the impact of other kids in your family. Today we were talking, I was in a meeting earlier, we were talking about attachment disorder, or I hate that word, attachment, and how when a child is in the hospital for multiple weeks or multiple months, and a parent is there, whether it's a mom, it's a dad, the grandparent, but the surviving kid or kids gets left behind, and how that impacts them as they navigate. My brother, my sister is in the hospital and mom's gone, and you're missing birthday parties, you're missing soccer tournaments, you're missing graduations, you're missing some of those milestones that your other child or children are doing, and other people are taking them to, you know, soccer matches and plays and things like that, because you're in the hospital dealing with a sick kid. And that is grief as well. Any comments with that?
So we've got a lot going on in the chat, and
Okay.
I love this genuine just conversation, because a lot of this is even healing as these moms are getting to speak these things and be in a safe space that they're known, they're heard. But every time something pops up, the feeling comes back, reliving the trauma each time. However, this is a family that you don't want to ever be part of, but the best family. Jacqueline says, I'm a completely different person dealing with being angry.
Yeah.
And yeah.
The anger, oh my gosh, you guys have every reason to be angry. Pediatric cancer changed your entire world, changed your child and your family's entire world. And if you think back onto, you know, prior to diagnosis, then diagnosis, and then treatment, I would be so angry if I had a child that had pediatric cancer. It's not right. It's not the way life is supposed to be. And then you watch them go through these horrific treatments that cause all sorts of different things that happen to their bodies, their little bodies or their big bodies. And you can't stop it, and you can't help them, and you can't fix it. And so you feel really helpless, and you feel like, I'm not being a good dad, or I'm not being a good mom, because I take it, let me have the cancer, not my kid. And that isn't the way this world is working.
Yeah. Well, we would prefer to take their cancer, but upon siblings, I would even say that my siblings were very much like Sarah is expressing here, and saying that my daughter often tells me that she wishes she had cancer so that she could get more attention like her brother. And my girls went through the same thing. And
yeah. And Lindsay I think it was Lindsay, you said that your daughter is missing out on teenage things, you know, proms and being on a sport team, cheerleader, whatever it is that she would want to do, because she can't do it due to whatever's happened with her body. But yeah, I'm working with a family with 2 kids, and one of the kids is like, why do I not get toys? Every single time my sister goes to the hospital, she gets toys. And so it's like this competition. And then you're like, oh God, we need to get toys for so-and-so so that they feel better and they don't feel left out. And so you're navigating 2 very, very different worlds, the hospital world and the home world, and trying to be a mom, dad, an adult to both the kid in the hospital and the kid or kids at home. And
I ended up spending so much money on the sibling because every time Paisley would get a gift, I'm like, nope. Like, Savannah
Yeah.
needs one too. Oh, she got a doll, so let's buy Savannah a doll. She got okay, so it
Yeah.
did. And so when I talk to other families now that are like, how do I support a childhood cancer family? I'm like, definitely think of the siblings too. Don't leave them out.
Right.
You
Well,
know.
and I segueing to that, I mean, if you think, I'd love to just chat real very quickly about the siblings, because they often, whether it is they've had a sibling that has died, or a sibling that's been dealing with cancer, or is in remission or in survivorship, but they're often referred to as the forgotten mourners, and mourning not just from the death, but mourning what their family was like prior to their sibling, their brother or sister, being in the hospital. Life totally changed. And that, I mean, some kids get really angry at the kid in the hospital, like, you've taken away my mom, you've taken away my dad, you've taken away, you look at financial things that happen, just having, dealing with one parent not working, or you're looking at your whole family being unstable because of trying to navigate home life versus hospital life. You're looking at a sick kid who doesn't, is not feeling well, comes home, and then that's the whole focal point. And so the siblings feel left out. And that's why they're often referred to as the forgotten mourners or forgotten kids in that regard, even with your best attempt at trying to include them and whatnot. I would love to know, is there anybody on here that has experienced a death of a child? I'm just curious about that. So you said this is being recorded, so I'm gonna speak a little bit to that.
Yeah.
In regards to siblings, because often when a child dies or when a sibling dies, there's so much focus on the parents, and especially the moms. I know, Ben, you're on here, and I love that you're on here. So also with dads as well, but there's more, I think, more focus on moms. People kind of gravitate to the mom, thinking, oh gosh, she's got to be hurting. Well, dad's hurting, and so are whoever is the surviving child. There's an organization that's based out of Denver, and it's with a treatment, not a treatment center, but a grief center called Judy's House, JUDI''S, and it's called the Childhood Bereavement Estimated Model. And they do a lot of research on kids and how kids deal with grief. So now I'm going to throw out a statistic. Nationally, 1 in 11 kids, this is nationally, 1 in 11 kids, by the time they are 18, will have experienced the death of a sibling or a parent. That is a really huge statistic. In the state of Tennessee, it's 1 in 9 kids. So if you're ever interested in looking at any type of statistics around that, they do all sorts of statistics for every state, and it's the CBEM model through Judy's House. And you could just Google Judy's House, and you'll see that. And whatever state you live in, you could look at that if you're interested in that. But that is a really sobering statistic. 1 in 11 kids nationally, and in Tennessee, it's 1 in 9. Tennessee last year was the 4th highest state in the nation with either sibling or parental deaths. So it's obviously different for every house. Oh, thank you for putting that in there. Thank you, Em. So anyways, kids, yeah, I can totally get off on that, but we'll keep going. So do you, Shannon, do you want to ask some questions, or do you want me just to keep going?
I can ask some questions and just see where it goes. And but I'm really loving what's happening in the chat, and even them supporting each other while we're live here. So, uh, so grief in survival. I think we already went over that one. I think, how about in loss, just continuing with that one really quick. What are some effective strategies for families to honor and remember their child while also finding a way to move forward after a loss? That's a really, really big question. You could probably do an entire Zoom on this, but
Probably, yeah. And that's a great question. So, rituals, a lot of people do rituals. Some people start foundations, such as this. I don't know if this was started, I don't know how,
yeah, Kicker is still here. And his name is Kicker, so it's after his name.
okay.
Kick Cancer Foundation. He is still here. I think he's 7 years cancer free.
Okay, that's great. At the Austin Hatcher Foundation, where I work, it was started by a mom and a dad who's, I think he was 3 months, 4 months old. Son died from a very aggressive brain tumor. And out of their grief, they started Austin Hatcher, that was his name, foundation. And it's been in existence for about 18 years now. So, so foundations is something. I was thinking about this question, and I used to work at Hospice of Chattanooga. I was a director of their grief program for 19 years. And I was working with this mom whose son died, and it was coming up close to the 1 year mark of his death. And she was really she was really struggling with that. And she said to me, I just don't know how to do this. And I don't want to call it an anniversary, because an anniversary to me feels like it's joyful, and this is not joyful for me. And so I asked her, I said, well, what would be the terminology that you think you would like to use? And so she came up with the 1 year mark. And so I've just like ran with that, and that's how I refer to it. So I asked her, I said, what are you thinking about how you want to honor your son's death or 1 year mark? And she said, well, I have this idea. He was, I think, 20 or 21. She said, I'm going to invite his friends over and do a barbecue. I'm going to grill hamburgers and hot dogs. And I just want them to tell me stories about him. And I want them to use his name, because people have stopped saying his name, which is a really common thing, whether it's your son, it's your sibling, it's your parent. People stop saying their name. And so she gathered, I think there were like 10 of his friends that came over. And they just shared story after story, eating hot dogs and hamburgers and whatnot. And what it did for her was it like enveloped into this wonderful, beautiful experience of having her son back, even though he wasn't physically there. And some of the stories she knew, but a lot of the stories she didn't, because, he was 20 or 21 and he did things that mom didn't know. So, so something like that, being able, I had a family that decorated painted stones, and they wrote things like, be kind, you are loved, all this, like, find joy today, a very positive thing. And in their town, in honor of their baby son that died, they placed them in just random places. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, they went back to see if they were there, and they were not. And that was just like something that was just a random thought that they had, that they really, they found very helpful. I've had other families that have done like business cards with their child's name and information on it, and kind of like pass it on as like an act of kindness. And so I've like gotten some of those and gone through one of the drive-throughs and paid for the person behind me, and asked the server, please give this to the person as well as whatever they just bought. Another way of just honoring these kids that are often very, sometimes it's really hard to keep them keep their memory going. And I will say that for most people, whether it's your child, whether it's your sibling, whether it's your parent, whatever the death is, maintaining their memory is probably one of the most cherished things for each person. The other piece that I would say, both with a living child and a child that has died, is that whether you call it ambiguous grief or grief in general, everybody in your family is going to do this differently. And there is no right or wrong way with it. Like how a sibling deals with their sibling that's in the hospital and whatnot, um, it they are going to end up, they're just going to be different. And I think that's one of the challenges as a parent, dealing with your kids, whether you have your child that is alive that has been impacted by cancer, pediatric cancer, or a child that has died, but dealing with all your other family members as well as your own grief. Many adults that I've worked with over the years do not want their kids to see them cry. And one of the challenges that I will throw out to these families is that it is okay it's really important that kids see um and that they see that they see you cry, because by keeping that away from them, that just kind of shows them that they can't share that with you. And for a lot of the grieving families, kids often do not want to cry in front of their parents because they, especially moms, they don't want to make them sadder. If I cry, that's going to make my mom cry. So I'm going to keep it in and I'm going to hold it in, and then I'm going to act it out in a variety of different other ways, because it's not going to come out through being authentic and saying, I'm really sad, I'm really missing my sister, whatnot.
Yeah. So much great stuff to unpack there that I absolutely am so glad that you shared. For sure, never forgetting their name, always making sure that you're saying it. I think that there's so many people that say, I don't want to bring it up because I want to protect their feelings, or I don't want to make them cry. So as adults, we kind of do the same thing, but this is what I've learned through a lot of our angel mamas, is that there is such a fear after loss that everybody that will stop talking about them. And
Yes.
so there is this want for you to talk about them. So I love the fact that she threw that party of telling the stories. Like, she still means something. She is there. She is present. She still has purpose. And you don't know this, Susan, but we actually have a board member who, since her daughter has passed, she has made it her life's goal to continue packing our Kickstart kits that we send out to
Oh,
childhood
wow.
cancer families. She says it's in honor of Lainey Lou. She would have loved for me to do this. And so even though she didn't start her own foundation, because that's not for everybody, like, that's a lot of weight. It's a lot of headache.
A lot of work.
Hard. And so for me, just like me, I'd rather assist a foundation that's already there and just be part of it. My daughter has not passed, but I don't want to walk away. I want to be part and serve. But the other side of it is that, every year in honor of her birthday, she'll do a fundraiser for Kick Cancer for Lainey Lou's birthday. And it's just another beautiful way of giving back and honoring her birthday, or heavenly birthday, or whatever they want to call it.
He also, so
Um,
Em and I were with Cheyenne this last week, and I didn't know this, but I knew they had Laney Falls. They created this really beautiful waterfall in their backyard, but I didn't know that they actually had put some of her ashes into the cement before they built it. And so I mean, it has a beautiful view, like with the sunset, and they sit out there and it's where they feel close. And I mean, having lost my sister, it's kind of the same thing. I have certain places that I've spread some of her ashes that it makes me feel close to her. And I take her ashes on all of my adventures. So we're going to Hawaii next week. I'm taking a little bit of her with me. So little things like that that just make you feel close to them and make them, again, you're saying their name, you're bringing them, they're part of your memories and the memories that you're continuing to create. Because I know for me, I know a lot of people talked about that, but the diagnosis, my sister was diagnosed with ALS, which was brutal. It's like that grief of the diagnosis and the unknown. It's really, I mean, I feel like that was almost the hardest part for us was the grieving of what we had planned in our heads of what our futures were going to be like.
And it was totally disrupted with her diagnosis. And
Mhm.
I mean, the whole unknown, you guys dealing with pediatric cancer, your sister ALS, and her treatment. It's like this unknown world, and all of a sudden you become experts with your kids or your sister's diagnosis. And some people Google, and having to like think in your head when your head is already like exploding with so many different feelings and emotions and information in your head of having to make sure you ask this specialist blah 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 question or this doctor da 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 question, and it can become so like paralyzing because it's so overwhelming. And then just trying to understand the world of the medical world, which continually changes. Yeah.
One thing that you said, Susan, though, that I think is worthy of coming back to is just how everybody grieves differently. And
Mhm.
like from my experience, and actually even watching some of our cancer families. In fact, Em and I just had a mom reach out this week whose child is in remission and she wants to get involved with kid cancer and give back. And it's like so beautiful when that happens. But I also think it's okay if you want to totally be away from the cancer world completely and never hear the word again. I know like for my life, getting into the nonprofit world was, part of my healing journey from losing my sister. But my mom wants nothing to do with it. Like it's for her, like helping others is like draining for her. Whereas for me, it really like builds me up. So I think just noting that it's like we all grieve different and all of it's okay. Like we all have our own path to walk.
Yeah.
And even Dana, I remember you've mentioned to me in the past that going the ALS route was a little too close to home for you, right? So you knew you wanted to give back, you knew you wanted to be a part of it, but everybody just finds their own way that is comforting to them, right? So
Such a good point, Em. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So another question, Shannon, do you want to, or do you want me to keep going?
Yes. I do have another question, because I look at this as a type of support group. I want to say, could you discuss the concept of post-traumatic growth in context of childhood cancer and how families can find meaning in personal growth through their grief?
Yes. So post-traumatic growth, which is a term actually I'd never heard of. And so I like Googled it. And so talks about a profound transformation and a psychological change that emerges in the aftermath of adversity, which is a testament to both resilience and meaning making. So how I interpret that is each of you in this Zoom have gone through whatever your story is and learning to find joy and find purpose in, and maybe it is being a part of this organization or a part of the Austin Hatcher Foundation organization, but finding some meaning making or meaning in this world that you never really wanted to be in, but you're in, and finding some ways to have, whether it's joy or being able to pass on, I'm here to support you. Yes, I have experienced something's, I've had a child that has had pediatric cancer, but I know your journey will be different, but I'm here to hear you. I'm here to listen. I'm here to offer support to you, whether it's in a support group per se, and support groups like there for those that have experienced the death of a child. There's a national organization called the Compassionate Friends that each it has chapters all over the United States. We have a chapter that meets in Chattanooga the second Sunday of every month. And it's a place where parents and adults and grandparents can go to be able to talk about their child or their grandchild and not feel like people think they have, 5 horns in their head and like, oh my God, you're saying the death word, or you're saying the grief word, or you're saying something like that. So support groups can be very validating. Um, Often it's like, oh my gosh, you feel that same way. That which is can be very the support groups can also be very overwhelming for some people. I had a family that went to Compassionate Friends this last Sunday. They're only 3 months out since their child died, and it was very, very overwhelming for the dad. He just sobbed through the whole thing. The mom said, I was totally stoic, and then I got in the car and just sobbed. And so, but she said, I was so glad we were there because people were like, oh yeah, we're here to support you. Yes, I felt that. Oh my gosh. So something like that, getting into some individual counseling, whether it's through a foundation, whether it's through a private practice. Some of the hospitals, and I don't know about the children's hospitals in your areas, they often offer some support groups. Again, that may kind of wane and for some people it's their gig and other people it's not. So I do really advocate for support because this world is pretty lonely. And for some people that's what they need. But I do encourage you to take a risk and reach out and ask, whether it's just getting together with another mom or another dad that understands it. Yeah, Judy's house in Denver, there's a lot of grief centers around. If you're up in Portland, Oregon, there's a wonderful organization up there called the Dougy Center. They have fabulous information on their website, DOUGY. And it is for families that have experienced a death. But there are grief centers all over the country that will support people if you don't have like a Austin Hatcher Foundation or something else where you feel like you need some support. And it's nice also to be able to funnel your kids into support groups, because how a 5-year-old deals with death and a 15-year-old deals with death is very, very different. And so just their whole understanding of death and what that all looks like.
Well, thank you for rolling into that, because that was actually one of my other questions, was just differentiating between your other support groups and actually seeking out professional grief counseling, which is what you offer even at the Austin Hatcher Foundation. So if you're in East Tennessee or close, Susan is great. But thank you for listing all those, and Em's putting them in the chat as she's speaking them. So make sure to save some of those. I don't know if we'll be able to list them when we upload this to YouTube or not, but those might be a good thing to save and post with that. Okay, let's
I have a
see.
question.
Yes.
Sorry, y'all don't know me.
No, don't say sorry, Heather.
So backstory real fast. My son was 1 when he was diagnosed, and the methotrexate and sorry, here's a cat. He had methotrexate toxicity. So ambiguous loss, as Susan knows, is a big one for me because Aiden had to relearn how to sit up. He had just started talking. He doesn't talk now. Now, mind you, Aiden is about to celebrate his 16th birthday. But because of the methotrexate, Aiden now has cerebral palsy, epilepsy, scoliosis, just a whole list of ridiculousness. But so I struggle because I always had the dream of he's my only boy. And I always had the dream of, get to watch him play sports, even though I am not meant to be outside because, oh my God, no, it's too hot in Tennessee. But my struggle is always dealing with ambiguous loss because I look at him and there's so much that he needs and wants to get out that he can't. But as y'all were just talking about dealing with friends who've lost children, it is so hard to talk to them about my grief when their grief is so much because you have the survivor's guilt that your child is still alive, even though like my kid's alive, but he's got all these fun side effects now. I am not going to tear up, ladies. I'm not going to do it. Um, but how do you open yourself up to talk to people about the grief that you're feeling as someone who still has a surviving child, that you consistently deal with the loss? I mean, I have friends who are not part of the cancer world that say the most heartless things, and I try to be nice about it, but it's just a constant struggle. You want to go hang out with people and you can't because your quote unquote normal friends don't have existing disabilities. I mean, there have been so many cancer families that I have been jealous of because they have done the 3 years of treatment and then they've had no lingering side effects. Sorry, my questions went all over the place, but just food for thought. I mean, he's been off treatment since he was 4 going on 5, and this is 10 years later, and I'm still wondering how to deal with this stuff. This is nothing that it will never go away because he'll always have disabilities. We still go to oncology once a year. And as far as what y'all were saying earlier, I call it my cancer family because for me, that is nail on the head. I still refer to people. I have a group of moms that we get on Facebook and I'm going to watch my language. We get on there and we complain. But at the same time, if somebody's having their scanxiety, we're consistently right there. You got this. We're going to get through this. But it's just so hard to have friends outside of the cancer community that understand the struggle. But even those women, I struggle, and I'm very open with them, but I struggle on how to talk to them about the grief of what he could be. I had a customer at work say, "Oh, your son's about to be 16. Oh, he's going to be driving the road soon." And I'm just like, you don't know me. I'm going to be nice and be like, "Oh, yeah, life is great." But like, it's ambiguous loss is such a big one for me. It is still such a struggle. And I just had to throw my 2 cents in there.
Thank you, Heather. I'm gonna turn that over to Susan.
That's a hard one, Heather, because you're in a world that a lot of people don't get. They don't understand the ongoing the ongoing challenges and your world with Aiden. And it can be very, very lonely. And for a parent, especially, so, as you shared about Aiden, and now that he's almost going to be 16 and he's never going to drive. And just having that reality and that sadness of what could have been and is not because of the effects that he had from the cancer treatment, it's really hard. So, yeah, it makes me sad for you and for other moms and dads that are dealing with the ongoing impacts of cancer and how kids, 10 years, like you said, Aiden was 10 years post cancer treatment, and dealing with his CP, his seizures, his epilepsy, all that as a ramification from his treatment. is not, I mean, there's not much of a, it's very, very difficult. And so I think continuing to be with or connect with your friends and your, like you said, your cancer moms group, but also when you have the energy and the opening for your non-cancer family or friends, or your own personal friends, is maybe giving them a very direct and educating them about your life and living with a son with so many different challenges and disabilities because of the fact that he had pediatric cancer. That would be my first response to you. Anyone else that has any questions? Virtual hugs to you, Heather. Yes, I know we're almost out of time.
I want to thank you ladies all for one, being here, two, being vulnerable, because this is all about growth and support. And I think, like you said, your cancer family, Heather, like I have those that I am very close to, 8 years outside of cancer, and some have lost their kids, and some of us still have them. And it is definitely a true balancing act of trying to love them where they are. And it can be done. Those friendships can survive. But it's hard. It's just putting your heart into it. And so I think this is where, yes, we could have had just survivorship and loss in grief on separate Zooms. But I think it's also important just to, talk about survivor's guilt, talk about how we remember those that we've lost and together, and just to remember that don't forget those that we've lost, and at the same time, still holding space for those parents whose kids are here and who are having difficulties, and so forth. And so, Susan, we love you and your work and all that you do. Again, she's from Austin Hatcher Foundation, that's been around for 18 years, 17 years, 18 years in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I think, Heather, you had said that you're in Tennessee. I don't know what side, but you know, I would love for everybody to stay connected. Reach out on to us on even Instagram if there's topics that you would like us to cover, things that you feel are necessary, something that we haven't tackled. Believe me, I would love to get into your brains, because we're so far out of treatment. Yes, we're still dealing with the grief and stuff, but sometimes I forget all the things that maybe need to be tackled now that are either in treatment, out of treatment, loss, so forth. So we want to come around you guys, support you. Susan, do you have anything to add?
I just want to say thank you for being a part of this tonight. One of the things just to be mindful of is that Austin Hatcher is reaching out to a variety of different pediatric cancer families. I am licensed as a LMFT in California, Georgia, and Tennessee. And so if you're in any of those states, you could, obviously California and probably most of Georgia, it would be a virtual sessions, but you could have services for free counseling with, for me, I would be in California. There's another therapist that also does Georgia. But just to be mindful of that, if anybody is interested in that, and you could reach out to the Austin Hatcher Foundation and proceed with the paperwork and whatnot. I'm working with 2 different California moms right now, so virtually. So
I love that. I didn't know that that was an option. So thank you for mentioning that, because that's a big deal. Like the farther that you can reach and
yes.
so forth. The technology I hate for so many reasons, but for things like this.
I know.
Definitely.
Once COVID happened, it's like, wow, this works. Is it the best? Probably not, but at least it works and engages with wherever each of you, like Caribbean and Maui. So I mean, I just think that that's fabulous, and we have Arizona and California and Tennessee that I know of. So and so I guess the last thing I'd like to say is, as you continue your journey, whatever your journey is, whether it's you're dealing with a child that's in treatment, is in remission, or is in survivorship, or you're dealing with a child that has died, one of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself, as well as your family, is your own self-care, your own sense of being able to take care of you. And one of the things I will often say to my moms and dads is, every night before you go to bed, ask yourself the question, what is it that I did today that was kind and gentle just for me? And it may be a cup of coffee. It may be loving on your kitty. It may be taking a walk on the beach. It does not have to cost a penny, or it could be a massage or a manicure or pedicure. But if you don't feel you're well, you're not going to be able to deal with your child, your children, and your family. And so it's so often that parents deny their own care, stop going to doctor's appointments and all that, because they put all their energy into their kids and trying to keep their kids safe and supported. But make sure you do that to yourself. Be
Well,
kind and
tonight I'm
gentle.
gonna say I did this for me today, because this
Okay,
was for
wonderful,
me.
wonderful.
This was taking care of me today. I hope this filled your cup, ladies, at the end of the day, that you can say, hey, this was for me, something that, yeah. So
All right, thank you so much for this opportunity, and would
thank
love
you,
to return
Susan.
sometime if you want.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Thank you, Susan.
thank you.
And remember, everybody, we're taking the next couple months off, so we will return in September, which we are going to have a very special guest with his book. Why did I just blank on his name? His first name's Brady.
Brady Lou.
Yes, yes,
And
yeah.
for anybody that's new, like
Brady
Heather's
Lucan.
on here, how would they get information about your organization?
Somebody that's new on here.
Yeah, that's new on the Zoom, that
So if
would
they're new
want
on the
more
Zoom,
information.
yeah, if they're new on the Zoom, they are already a part because they have to RSVP for this.
Okay.
But we are going to be sharing this over the summer, really building up this community. So if you guys want us to send you some one sheets on this that you could drop off on the oncology floor, we would love that. Like, help us spread the word. These are free. Obviously, tonight was just so beautiful. And I mean, all of these calls are so different. Like, we cover such different topics. So please reach out to us. My email is just dana@kidcancermovement.org. And I would love to get you guys just some information to share with other cancer families. But you
Yeah,
can
and
follow
we
us on our
also
Instagram, Facebook. Go ahead, Chan.
Yeah, we also could have new people to YouTube watching this. So, but just letting you know about Kick Cancer Movement, not only do we provide the Kickstart kits for families, it's $9.99 for shipping. It's an immense amount of tools to help kids thrive through treatment and beyond. So even if they've finished treatment, the detox tools, the essential oils, the nutrient packed snacks, all the things that are in there, the healthy home swaps and so forth, all those things are beneficial and they're sent as gifts. But we also have our athlete scholarship program that when your child is able to get back into a sport or maybe just an activity of their choice, that you can apply for the athlete scholarship program. And that is really just to give these kids back some hope that they've lost possibly through treatment or excitement or joy in life. And so So if anybody has any questions in regards to the Kickstart Kit or the Athlete Scholarship Program, we want to allow that time right now. If you have any questions, just unmute yourself. Other than that, we can, we'll see you back in September. And again, that's Brady Lou. He is a childhood cancer.
Brady Lucas.
Huh?
Brady Lucas. Brady Lucas.
Oh, see, it's on his Instagram. It's LUU.
Brady Lucas. It's funny when you said that, I was like, maybe she cut out. Maybe I didn't hear her say the whole name. Yes, Brady Lucas.
Brady Lucas,
Amazing.
but he is a childhood cancer survivor himself, and he wrote a book about a cute little turtle that lost his shell and his friends that are all going through the dynamics and relating it to childhood cancer and how to, but it's really cool. So we're going to invite actually some of our kids that are fighting cancer or have fought cancer to come on with their parents, as he is our guest speaker. Just giving these kids to look at an adult and said, look, he was where you were at one point. He's here now. And so just to have that perspective. So we're looking forward to that in September. So thank you guys.
Well, I wanted to say thank you, Susan, because I wasn't going to jump on. I was like, oh, grief, I can't handle that. But this was so helpful for me. And Heather, you were just so sweet. And I just feel your pain on your side. And you are in my thoughts and prayers for sure. So Aiden turning 16 is just amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Well, awesome, guys. I think that's it. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate you all, and we will see you in September. Reach out for anything you guys need from us. Have a great summer. We'll see you soon.
Great. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.